All right, Geordie Prepper here. This is another Prepper's Perspective, backed by popular demand. And for the first video of this series in it, I've got Daddy Rabbit.
What's up, Geordie?
Hey man, how's it going?
It's wonderful. I'm glad that I could be on this episode.
It's always good to
I
have you.
guess it's called episodes, right? Huh?
Yeah, Preppersode, I guess you could say it. But yeah, it's good to have you back. Your Prepper's Perspectives are always the highest viewed. So I guess they like
Are
what you
they?
say.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that. I know you said you're going to put it in the description, but all the others, I was Prepper Rabbit. So,
Yeah, so this is Daddy Rabbit, who used to go by Prepper Rabbit. But yeah, I'll put all the links to your channels in the description. What about current events? What's
we're screwed.
that's the
I
abridged
well,
version. We're screwed.
I'm gonna say this. I've said this on my channel. I'm on Twitter. I've said it on Twitter. I've said it several places. And if any veterans hear what I'm getting ready to say, before you lose your cookies, I'm being sincere and I'm not being mean, but I am tired. I am so tired of hearing veterans beat their chest and talk about, well, by God, if they do this, we're going to do that. Well, put up or shut up. There is so much bad going on. And if you're waiting for that defining moment, if you're waiting on the next bullet that's heard around the world, it's not going to happen like that. So here in America, they just now start talking about we're gonna run out of diesel fuel. Well, current administration, well, everybody knows how we feel about those. We run out of diesel, our economy will crash. Period. If our economy crashes, you in the UK are screwed just like we are because everybody depends on us in a lot of ways. And as soon as that runs out, we're done. Our there'll be no electricity. The trains won't run. The trucks won't run, and the world as we know it, it's gonna. I believe it at that point it'll kick off. But the problem of it is nobody will have any gas to go anywhere. So everybody just have to stay at home and be pissed because we've all stood around and talked about, well, by God, I'm going to do this, and nobody did. And now everybody just sit at home and starve. Was
Yeah,
that kind of what you just want to know?
I mean, I've heard reports that there's about like 2 weeks worth of diesel left in America at the minute, and I don't think people realize just how many industries and how many sectors rely on diesel. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got the obvious ones like trucks, the
Mm-hmm.
truckers are hauling the biggest amount of freight and stock across the country. If that stops, even just the trucks stop, then
Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
over with.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, it's
done.
done.
We're done.
With national elections going on, if we run out of diesel,
Yep.
there will not be a Democrat that wins a seat anywhere in our nation. It'll be over with for them, and that's a fact.
But the problem is,
Oh yeah,
you were saying earlier about people should just put up or shut up. Like, people
yeah.
should have put up.
Well, when you have federal law enforcement agencies that are corrupt, like we've got, and the people stand around and see, this is the problem. There's no doubt. I'm gonna in my country. Oh, I was talking about the guy that I used to play Xbox with. He came to America, and he's like, you know what a big gulp is? And I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. He's like, that's the biggest Coke I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, sure. And you go to Burger King or to McDonald's, and everything here in America is bigger and better than anywhere else. I said, okay. Now, granted, have I been to another country? No. Uh, but we know in America, uh, we live in a sense better than anybody else in the world. We do. Um, So we're fat and lazy. We are. I mean, it is what it is. And as soon as this started, people got a little pissed, but they weren't pissed enough to go to the streets and raise Cain. And so now everybody's going to be madder than hell in about a month. You waited too long. Will we go to a socialist republic? No. They want that. They do. But will we? No. There are still things that will have to happen truly. But for the present administration to get their agenda across, God, I hate to say this, for them to get their agenda across, they'll have to kill most of us. They'll have to. And I don't know anybody that wants it that bad. I mean, maybe they do, but I've always said, and I know for people who live in other countries, that we're braggarts and we're cocky and we're arrogant. We are that. But I'm trying to filter this, and I'm not going to. I know, but to get us to change our way of lives, the way we live, the way we think, well, they'll just have to slaughter us all. I mean, it is what it is. And it might truly come to that. But I was watching a gentleman's channel a couple of weeks ago. There's more guns in the civilians' hands in the United States than any standing army in the world. And I forget how many billions of rounds we have, the citizens. They'll have to starve us to death. They'll absolutely. And I'm sure that's the agenda. But they'll all, the powers to be will have to leave this country. They won't be able to stay here. So I don't really see all that happening. And I could be wrong, but our country right now is as close to civil unrest than any time short of our independence.
Yeah.
And I guess the other countries are kind of watching to see what the citizens do. You know, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I don't think people like realize just how much the powers that be actually despise us. I mean, so I truly believe that they're capable of anything, and I think it
Sure.
will come to. I mean, people keep putting this phrase around like the reset and great reset, and at the end of the day, they just don't care about us, and they will deprive of us property. They'll restrict your freedoms even more because it doesn't affect them. And people are like, "Oh, well, we'll stand up to them and come and take my gun." And like, yeah, they will.
Well,
they won't need to because you'll be starved and you'll be dead.
up north, the northern states, Chicago, New York, Jersey, Michigan, they'll get theirs. They will. I want to say something which will sound ignorant, and I know it sounds ignorant, but this is the truth. When the North and the South, when we had our Civil War, you can debate what it was over. I could care less. And this sounds ignorant, but this is true. I've heard this all my life. The South wants a redo. We do. We want another one. This one we won't lose. Just won't. There's more guns. There's more. Like, we don't need the North. We don't. The North needs us. The people here are chomping at the bit to go to war. They are. Grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles, they all want it. After my generation's gone, the powers to be might get what they want. They might. But I was still raised to believe in God, the Constitution, all the things that what people think America is. I was raised that way. Now, the people coming up from their 20s to their mid to late 30s, they don't think the way I think.
Yeah, that's by design because they've bred and indoctrinated an entire generation to be focused on fickle things like these brightly colored devices that we've got in hand, and there's this app on
Yeah.
it called TikTok, and you can watch really bad
Yeah.
entertainment. Keeps you occupied, it keeps you busy,
Mm-hmm.
whilst there's the bigger
It
important
does.
things that you should be focusing on. You're just ignoring it.
I think I think one of the biggest downfalls. And listen, I'm one of the. I watch TikTok. I do. I like watching the animals. That's my thing. But I stopped watching television about 12 to 14 years ago. And that people watch today, they find entertaining, blows my mind.
Oh god, it
Truly
does my
blows my
head in
mind.
as well. It's
And I
utter
get
trash.
pissed. It is. And I think, okay, I'm going to say this. And for all your subscribers and viewers, if I make you mad, oh, well, sorry. But I believe in my Lord Jesus Christ. I believe in the Holy Bible. It says in the Bible, man is not to lay with man, and woman is not supposed to lay with woman. All right. I believe that. But that's my personal belief. I'm not going to push it on you or anybody else. But that's how I believe. To me, once television was no longer wholesome and family oriented, there was nothing on there that I needed to see.
Yeah, this is a thing which has been happening for a long, long time, like the destruction of the family
Sure.
unit. Because when a
Yeah.
country has a good family unit and good values, it's socially prosperous and it's resistant to
It
change.
is.
But if you introduce things which upset that order, the society breaks down. And I mean, they tried this in 1920s Germany. If you read about what was happening in Berlin in 1920s Germany. So, I mean, to me, all of this is just a passing phase, but I'm really worried that it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to pass because people are going to be so normalized by it. It's just going to be here to stay, which means society is going to be forever broken.
What I think will happen is they're going to push the agenda they want. So I live in the state of Tennessee. I live in the Bible Belt, what we call the Bible Belt.
Yep.
And as generations go further and further, church is less important to people. Like here where I live, you can't go 2 miles without, like I'm right now to do this interview. I live far out in the country, so I came pretty much into town to do this interview so I'd have a good signal so we won't get interrupted. I'm sitting in a church parking lot. And in this church parking lot, there's 500 parking spaces.
Wow.
And no matter which way I go, within 2 miles or 3 miles, I'll pass another church. Now, that's just the way it is. Younger people, okay, like when 9/11 happened, the church is filled up here in America. Then as time went on, people started, the non-believers stopped coming. I am a Southern Baptist, which would be, in a lot of people's mind, ultra conservative. And I guess I am to a point. I view things differently than most. And in our country, in the 70s and so, feminism got more popular. Well, when the husband and the wife both are working, now that you double taxes because both people are working, but nobody's home with the kids. And I was fortunate. I grew up in a family where my mother stayed home, my father worked. But a lot of kids didn't have that. And when the TV's raising your kids, or your kids are out running the roads and parents don't know what their children are doing, they grow up a little more screwed up. And nowadays, like you say, now we got this little shiny thing in our hand. You got the world in the palm of your hand. Anything you want, and I do mean any, if you know where to look, it's on there. You can find anything you want. And people are perverts by nature anyway. You get further and further away, from God, family, and it makes them worse. But with the agenda that's being pushed today, okay, so we run out of diesel, let's say. This is where the powers to be is screwing up. Well, families will have to come back together to survive like they did in the 20s and the 30s. As families move back home to mom and dad or whoever's got the biggest house, they're making the family come back together, and they don't want that, and they're going to screw themselves because the poor everybody is, everybody lives with whoever. Now you have neighborhoods again. People will start talking again. They're doing this wrong. As long as everybody's prospering, everybody's doing their own thing, you kind of control them. But you make everybody poor and you make them all go home. There will be a bunch of people lose houses and cars and all that. Oh, well, but they'll all be home again and there'll be family values again. Now, it'll take a little bit, but that's what'll happen. If you look back, let's say at American television, you look back to the Andy Griffith show, you look back to the Waltons. The Waltons is a good point. That whole family, the Walton family, there were 3 girls, 3 boys, grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, all in one house. They all grew up with family values. See, now what they're trying to do is break us, but they're just going to make us stronger. That's my opinion.
People should realize, though, that, you know, there's these people that are in charge, and they are in charge. If you try to dissent, or, like, let's just say, like, if you try to stop your paying your taxes, right, you're going to feel their heavy hand on around your neck. But the one thing that people don't realize, like, is just how patient these people are. They've been at it for over 300 years, and they still haven't got to the point that they would like to get to. And, you know, over 300 years is a long, long time to manipulate society and, you know, get things. They're going to get things right that they want to see done, but they're also going to get things wrong. So, you know, they're trying to break us apart and have us at each other's throats. And yeah, that's happening a lot, but there's going to be periods where we actually go the other way and resist, which means it slows down their agenda. You know, it might be by accident, or it might be by on purpose.
I think the agenda, and I've said this, what I think is going on is Agenda 21. And if you don't know what that is, I will tell you to go Google it. But I believe the goal is Agenda 21. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these names that people put on things like Agenda 21 and all that. I don't really go into all that because I like to keep it simple. I look at history. Let's get things back to how things were in the past when it was good, and then we just need to work on that, the good aspects of that, and just bring it into the modern age, you know?
Well, to do that, though, you'd have to water that tree of liberty here in the United States.
Well, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
Oh, I'm down. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you know, I got my Minuteman gear. I'm ready.
I mean, it's the same
You know,
here
I've
in
said
Britain.
this many times. Yeah, well, I've said this many times. Listen, so I don't end up on the 6 o'clock news. I love my country. I do. I love my country. I love the people of my country. I will not be committing suicide. But if it comes to it, okay, you know, somebody's got to do it. I'm good with it. I won't be the lone wolf. You know, you're not going to hear about me clock tower, and I'm not going to do that. But if the population said we've had enough, I'll stand with it.
Yeah.
I won't stand alone, but I'll stand with the majority. See, everybody keeps thinking, well, it's not happening in my state. Well, it's not happening in my city. Well, they're not in my neighborhood. They're not on my street. Oh, they're on my front door. And if that's your attitude, yeah, they'll eventually get around to getting to everybody. The problem is, now I know there's been some talk about agencies going door to door, but they're doing that up north. They're not down here. And I will say, without a shadow of a doubt, you come below the Mason-Dixon, and you'll have to look up what the Mason-Dixon is if you don't know. If government agencies come south and start going door to door, we will lose our minds. We will. We are the most patriotic, by God, you know, people there are. But that's just who we are. That's the way most people were raised. Folks here won't stand for it. They just won't. Now, granted, they'll let us all starve to death. There's no doubt in my mind. But they're not going to come door to door down here. Up north, they will. Look, if you're in law enforcement, you swear an oath to the people and to the Constitution. And if you're willing to the Constitution, then to me, you're not an American, because that piece of paper means more than I do or my neighbor. That is our nation's backbone. And if you work somewhere, and I've heard this, oh, there's a lot of good people work at this agency or that agency. Well, then that's great. You don't go against the Constitution, period. And if I worked somewhere and they said, okay, well, we're throwing the Constitution out the window, this is what we're going to do, I'd have to resign. I just have to.
Mm.
And so when these people work for these places and they go against the Constitution, one, it's heartbreaking, and two, you're not an American. You're just not.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's the same in any country where you've got. I think my generation's probably the last one that would really care enough to stand. If the majority go a certain way, like you, I'll be there with them to back them up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to do anything myself. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm not going to do anything crazy or, lone wolf. But if the nation decides, like if the people decide, we've had enough of a particular thing in this country, and it's something that I feel strongly about as well, then you can be damn sure, I'm going to be there backing them up. What's happening, though, is all they need to do to get past that is just wait for my generation to die. And then they've got preceding generations. They don't know how things used to be. They don't know how good things were or how good things can be.
Yeah, listen, the biggest problem is the parents of today did not raise their children correctly.
Oh, they can't? They don't know how?
I've heard.
They're children themselves?
Well, they don't. Well, the big thing is you can't even spank your kids. And I don't know what state you live in. Now, you can't abuse your kids, but you can sure tear their ass off. You sure can. Parents don't want that. And as soon as they took prayer and paddling out of school and all that, right then, there's no consequence.
Yeah, they took that from this country as well. Smacking your children.
Oh, man. When I was in high school, oh, yeah. Well, like I say, when I was in high school, you did something ignorant. They had paddles. Paddle, that's not the word. They had boards. 3 licks with that. I just seen you just punch me in the face, I talked to a young man a while back, and he worked at Planet Fitness. And he made decent money. He worked on night shift. And he had to walk around and spray alcohol on the machines and wipe them down and mop and, nothing. A nothing job. And he said, my job is hard. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, your job's not hard. He said, I work harder. I said, no, you don't. I said, you're not digging a ditch. You're not putting shingles on. There's a lot of jobs out there that are hard. Go dig a ditch. And he got mad. And I was like, have you ever dug a ditch? No. Well, have you ever put roofing on a house? No. Then shut up, kid. This ain't hard. This is a job for a 70-year-old man that has nothing to do.
Mm.
Listen, my father and I, we had a painting business. We used to paint houses. Until it got so cold we couldn't work or it rained, we worked every day. And everybody says, painting's not hard. No, it's not hard. Go go move a 40-foot ladder around a house and be on the side of a house or a building, painting 98-degree weather with 100% humidity. And then tell me about how hard your job is. In my life, I've had, so we had a painting business. My wife and I owned a small mom and pop grocery store. I've had an armed security service. We flipped properties. I've worked several jobs that were hard and worked 60, 70 hours a week. And listen to young people today bitch and moan about how hard they work. Life sucks. You don't know what suck is. or have a job where I work for a company called Kenworth of Tennessee, KW. They sell tractor trailers. They sell big trucks. Like I was a gopher in a body shop. Is it hard? No. Go wash a truck when it's 28 degrees outside. Damn water hit the ground and freeze, and you be out in that all day long. I worked for a heating and air company. It was horrible. I mean, damn, you'd have to move AC units and they didn't have forklifts. You'd have to use your back. I mean, there's people out there work harder than me. And I listen to young people today piss and moan. I work at McDonald's. I should make a living wage. No, MFR, you shouldn't. That is a teenager's job. And because you don't have an education, you think working at McDonald's is a career? Grow up. Life sucks. And you listen to these people piss and moan. What the hell do you know about hard? And then you listen to me, bitch, and then I listen to my mom and dad. My dad was born in 1933. He came up through the Depression, and they worked hard. And his parents worked even harder. And then you listen to kids today piss and moan. I want a new phone. You want a $1,500 telephone? Then go get you a job. Because when I was 13, the big thing when I was 13 is we all wore Converse high tops, leather tennis shoes. My daddy said, if you want leather tennis shoes, go get a paper route. And at 13, 14, 15, and 16, I carried papers and made $100 a week because back then kids carried papers. And if I wanted a $75 pair of tennis shoes, I bought them because I had the money. Kids today want $300 pair of damn tennis shoes. Well, you better figure out something. And then people raise their kids, they give them everything. They don't work. They don't know what the value of a dollar is. I'm sorry. Grow up. It runs all over me. It does. And people are just ignorant, you know?
Yeah, this generation, like that's following us, well, generations really. I hear them go on about things, and it's unbelievable. Like they don't know, like even the basics, how to go through life. They've just been given it to them on a plate or
Mm-hmm.
on a spoon, and
Yeah.
everything's been done for them. They don't know. They don't even know what hard work is, like you said. But with what's happening in the world at the minute, let's just say the bombs drop. Everything that's in abundance now
It's gone.
is gone or very limited supply. There's no Wi-Fi. All the comforts are gone, right?
Yeah.
This generation, how do you think they're gonna survive?
They're going to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anybody from 1 to 30 will perish.
And you know what?
30 to 40 won't last long. And everybody above that, unfortunately, knows how to live. They just need to be 20 again.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to say something, and people who are younger probably not going to like it, but who cares? If these people who've had everything given to them, if these people come to my door, or if I'm helping people, let's just say I survive, right? If these kids come along and expect,
they'll perish.
Well, yeah, but the big thing is
say it that way.
I'm going to let them perish. Because there's no way I'm going to have some little kid who's had everything given to him all of his life dragging down me or others that actually know how to contribute to a group and society as a whole, So they're going to perish, and they're going to find, or if they don't perish straight away, they're going to find life so hard. I think they're probably going to take their own life, for one thing. Or
there'll be a bunch of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, can you imagine some kid, right? He's been raised watching bloody TikTok, Wi-Fi, he's had everything on these bright little coloured device. And then all of a sudden, he's got to actually contribute to a group. I mean, he's not going to know what to do. I'm not going to have him in my group, and I don't think anybody else will.
Well, my dad taught me something early on, and so my dad was a what they call a journeyman painter. He went to school to learn how to learn his trade, and I was his helper for a long time. And he said, to be a good helper, you have to you have to anticipate what I'm going to need next without me telling you if you're going to be a good helper. He taught me to look ahead, look not 2 or 3 steps ahead, but be 10 steps ahead all the time. So I'd be watching, like my dad, you all call it wallpaper, but in a commercial setting, it's called vinyl. It's 10 times tougher, and it's just for commercial application. I did all I'd glue the sheets and fold them, and I'd have them ready for him. And I knew what knives and all these things that had to be done. He never had to ask me for anything. After he taught me that, in anything I would do, if I had somebody come over and do work at my house or whatever, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm a good helper. You tell me what, and so I would pay less money because I was helping, and I would know ahead of time. Okay, you need this, you're going to need that, and I would, have a little stockpile to hand the guy or whatever they were doing. And kids today, and even a lot of adults, don't have enough damn sense to get out of the rain.
Yeah, totally.
And
You see it every day.
mm-hmm.
The stupidity of these youth is you see it all the time, and they don't understand why they look such like a bunch of idiots, and like why we're shaking our heads at them. They just don't get
Yeah,
it.
well, we used to, me and my ex-wife would flip properties. I asked a carpenter. Now I can't do it because I'm not a carpenter, but he had a chop saw and a miter saw, and he was doing baseboard. And I'm like, hey, dude, like this base, when you cut it, you put it together, it's supposed to fit. Well, where it wouldn't fit, they'd want to shoot caulk. And he said, but I can't see it from my house. And I said, and neither can you see your paycheck. You're fired. And the guy stood there and looked at me. He said, you're going to fire me? I'm like, look, I'm selling a house to somebody. I paid, like, if I paid 50,000 for the house and I'm going to put 35 into the house for 85, I'm going to sell it for 100 and a half. They at least expect the woodwork to fit together. And you're wanting to fill it full of caulk. You're a carpenter. Like, you're supposed to know how to make these cuts. But I can, but his thing was, but I can't see it from my, which means, and I was like, well, no, it's my money to your pocket. Either you know how to do your job or you don't. And it was amazing. This guy had been working as a finish carpenter for 5 or 7 years, and he could not miter woodwork together. And he was probably 32, 33. And this was 10 years ago. And I fired his ass right on the spot. What the hell, man? You can't even do your job. I sure can't go in if I have to go in behind you and figure out how to do this, then I don't. Why am I paying you $25 or $30 an hour, and you can't even cut 2 pieces of wood to fit together?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. Like when you see what these youngsters these days expecting. Basically, they just want to ride the gravy train.
Yeah,
They want to do the least amount of effort and work
yeah,
and get the maximum amount of reward and like the biggest paychecks, but they don't get that you've got to work for that, and you can't just get to the top. Like they expect to go from college or uni, which they haven't paid for,
yeah.
and go into like a top a top job, you know. So current events in America, what's the biggest things happening over there at the minute?
Well, I hate to tell you, since I don't watch television, and I don't know. I really, um, I don't know, and I don't. Nor do I care, because here in America, with the propaganda as bad as it is, this week it'll be one problem, in 10 days it'll be something else, and in 10 days it'll be something else, and so on and so forth, to where I quit watching. Like I say, the doom and gloom. All right,
Yeah, you guys get rammed with
uh,
the propaganda on the media, don't you?
oh yeah, and our media is so,
It's way worse than Britain.
oh, it's horrible. Of course, it's been 7 years or so since I played Xbox. I would ask the guys, because I played with guys in the UK, Scotland, Australia, Canada, and I'd say, what's going on, and what's your news media saying about us? And honest to God, that's how I got the best news. Because guys from other countries say, oh, they saying this, they're saying that, and they're like, they're not saying that here. We ain't hearing none of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I like about the internet, like, is the ability to get in touch with people instantaneous across the world. Like, I mean, I don't watch mainstream news. I watch like YouTube videos on Brighteon, alternative platforms.
Sure.
And
well, I did.
I mean, even some of the channels on there, they're of a much higher quality than what the big media corporations over here can do.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
The only thing I've heard, and I heard this on TikTok, somebody from across the pond said, I don't know how many months back, but Putin and the guy from Ukraine had came up like they were going to stop fighting. It was either somebody from the UK or somebody from England went and got in it, and now they're back at it because they'd come up with a ceasefire, a truce, basically. And I hate to use those three initials, the blah, 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 WO, basically stirred the pot and got them right back at it because it wasn't fitting their narrative. And I thought that's probably true. Everybody keeps talking about how crazy Mr. Putin is. I don't think he's crazy. I don't. Everybody keeps saying, well, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I can't speak Russian. So if he's doing a speech in Russian, I have no idea what the man's saying. So the commentator's telling you what he's saying. I don't know. He now I do know this, and I forget how many months ago. It's been several months ago. Mr. Putin said in a speech, and he was doing it in English. He told us, "Don't give up your guns." He said that several months ago. American people don't need to give up their guns. And he said to the current administration, if you don't stop your satanic ways, I will bring the weight of Russia to your door. Now, everybody can say what they want to, but that seems pretty solid coming from a man supposedly lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still coherent.
Our president tries to shake hands with people that's not there, and if they don't lead him around, he walks off into the bushes. So, what the hell?
Yeah, he's an absolute joke. I mean, I've seen videos of him literally doing that.
Yeah.
Like walking into like...
Yeah, he wanders off.
He just wanders off.
Yeah. And they let him have the football. He's got the nuclear key. I'm like, are y'all out of your mind? There's no doubt in my mind. If I was going to guess, the former president was the 45th. So the 44th president, no doubt in my mind, is running our country right now. If I was going to guess.
Possibly.
Huh?
I mean, he's definitely not well enough
he's not.
To run a bath.
No.
I mean...
He'd drown in the bathtub.
Yeah, if he was to run a bath, he would probably hop in and drown.
Yeah.
Is that incapable? Like physically and mentally incompetent and
if
incapable?
He was in any other job, somebody's family would be getting locked up for elder abuse. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, I mean, for sure. But you know what the funny thing is there's people out there that actually think he's doing a good job, and he's better than what the previous president was, and it's like, are you absolutely freaking kidding me?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, I really don't care who I offend with this. I don't care whose crotch the guy grabbed. I don't care. If our president, the former president, put out too many mean tweets and he hurts your feelings, well, suck it up, Buttercup. That man was turning our country into a ultra superpower. We were doing great. I've said for years, listen, I've said for years, majority of the time, whoever wins the presidency is bought and paid for. If anybody, the majority of the presidents, now, the 45th president, he said, what are they going to bribe me with? I have $22 billion. You're going to give me $10 billion? What do I need any more money for? What are you going to bribe me? He can buy anything he wants. None of his family will ever have to work. I'm a billionaire. How are you going to bribe me? Well, they couldn't. And when he started calling them out, draining the swamp, as he said, well, he pissed off so many people. There's no way they could let him be president again. No way. But if he ain't the president again, this country will burn. And all these groups that get out in the street and march, they have no idea how bad it'll be. Because when the silent majority hits the street, this country will burn. And oh dear God. So if they try to rig another one, there's no doubt in my mind. This country will explode because nobody's going to put
Yeah,
up with
it's
this
like a
again.
pressure cooker, isn't it?
It is. And everybody's saying, okay, we're going to wait to the election. We're going to wait to the election. If they start fixing stuff again, some of these people it's going to be bad. And I'm going to tell you what, when you're sitting in a church full of good people and they start talking, you know exactly, and I'm not going to say it on here because I don't care where you upload this. We're probably going to catch some flack over it. But when people's grandpas and grandmas, aunts and uncles start talking, well, by God, here, and you know without a shadow of a doubt. So whatever they planned, they either had to get it done this time or it's over with. Because there'll be people stepping on planes flying out of this country. I don't know to what country they'll go to hide, but there's only so much they can do, short of just nuking us all. And everybody says, "Oh, nuclear! There ain't gonna be no nuclear war." I don't care what side. This is the problem. If you set off a nuclear device, an A bomb or whatever they call them these days, ain't nobody can use the land. They can't use the infrastructure. It's gone. So they're not going to nuke us. I think you're an American at heart.
I mean, well, like a lot of Americans, I love my country. I'm very patriotic. I actually know about the British Constitution. And for all those ignorant people who are listening who are British, yes, we do have a constitution.
You're right.
The difference between the American Constitution and the British Constitution is that the American Constitution was codified, whereas the British Constitution is made up of like lots of documents which span quite a bit of history, like quite a few hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that, well, it's not very funny at all, really. It's rather sad. But if the British Constitution was adhered to, like, things would be so much better. And we've lost our Constitution. The big worry I have for America is that you guys lose yours and basically end up where we are.
Well, Biden signed something with what the World Health Organization, supposedly if there's some kind of pandemic or whatever, that our Constitution gets suspended, whoever takes it. But even that he signed that, it really does. It doesn't change anything, not for us, not really. They can claim that, but it will not supersede our Constitution. And if they try to enforce that, it would be bad. I don't know about your country, but here, if let's say peacekeepers come, as we say, boots on the ground. If a foreign power puts boots on the ground here in the U.S., by default, it becomes an act of war. The DC, the administration can claim anything they want, but as soon as boots on the ground in the U.S., it's on. Per our Constitution.
Yeah, you can just treat them as enemy combatants.
You're right.
Really.
We can gun them down and they can hop up and down and say whatever, but the Constitution says no. No foreign power can put boots on the ground inside the U.S. And I've said this for years. I've said it in many videos. The only military I can see coming here would be the Chinese because they have the manpower to waste. Problem is, I think they have billion people or whatever. I can't remember the number. China's got a lot of people. We got more ammo than they got people. We have more guns than they got. We got more guns than anybody. I will say this: Democratic presidents have sold more guns than anybody. Anybody. As soon as they start talking about taking up firearms, gun stores get bought out over and over. They just need to leave it alone. If they would leave the Second Amendment alone, they could pretty much get away with murder because nobody would care. But as soon as you say we're gonna, it's like I forget the jackoff's name that said, "Yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Yes, we're going to take your AK-47s." And no, you're not. No, you're not. And people talk about how we are such warmongers. We might be, but I'll say this about the American people: we are very good at killing, and we like it. We do. There's no doubt. People talk about our government, whatever. Yeah, well, we send an F-16 and put a missile through your window. Yeah, we will. But the American people love their firearms. It's part of our culture. And if you want war, you know, we're the ones. We will. We will fight. But that being said, the American people as a whole, we don't think we should be the world's police force. Most of us, we don't care what you do in your country. It's none of our business. But if somebody's going to come here and say, "Well, by God, we're going to take your guns," it's on. All the stuff that's going on, we pretty much take it in stride until somebody says that we want your guns. Then people lose their minds. There's people here that's got ARs and AKs and Barretts, and there's people here that own machine guns, that own tanks, that own all kinds of stuff. We own it. We do. Most law-abiding citizens you'll ever meet, we own it. That being said, don't come here and try to take it. And the problem is, when I say this, every year in Kentucky, I think this was the last year they did it. You can go up and everybody would bring their machine guns, and everybody says you can't own a machine gun. You can own a machine gun in the United States. You can. A civilian can. And they'd go up and fire thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds on one weekend. And then everybody go home. Everybody go up there and have a good time. And people act like we don't own them. There's a guy in my hometown that owns one or two tanks and a couple of howitzers. I don't see him breaking the law. He owns two tanks. We love our guns. We love them. And the thing about it is, national average. I saw a video, FBI, some stats. This guy was saying the national average, if a person owns one firearm, they own at least 11. You think about that. The average person owns 11 firearms. I know people that own a couple of hundred. And the government thinks they're going to come and take it. Have you lost your mind? You might get 100 people to turn in their guns, maybe. After that, you might as well give it up. I don't care what federal agency comes and knocks on somebody's door. They got 11 firearms. Unless you catch them when they're asleep, you better go somewhere else. Nobody. I think in Boston, they told everybody, "Hey, you need to," I think it was either register, and then finally told them to turn in their ARs. And there were people that turned them in. When I was growing up, the lady lived across the street from me. She had two handguns. She owned a 357 Magnum and a 45. And some guy tried to break in her door, and she damn near killed him with a 45, son. This 70-year-old woman opened the door with a Colt 1911 and commenced to firing at this guy. You get shot with a 45, it's like getting shot with a big old bumblebee. It's not going to end well. And she was a grandma.
So what do you think is the biggest threat at the minute Generally to the world
to the
at the minute right now.
to the world, people being lazy. And what I mean by that is the corporations spend billions of dollars. Okay, so this shiny device that we all have in our hands listens to us all the time. It listens, and they're designed that way.
Yeah.
Except for you and I, it's not going to tell us anything we want to know. But the average person, it's going to tell them something. Actually, I was at a buddy's house a year ago. We were talking about bolt action rifles, and we were talking about the Mosin. And I said, well, he didn't know what it was. I said, well, let me look it up. And literally, as soon as I hit Google, there it was. And I said, and he said, that's strange. I said, it listens all the time. It's like it can read your mind. And I say that a lot. I'm a bachelor. I live by myself. And there's more than once I've opened it up and it be on the subject that I was thinking about. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But the biggest threat to the human race right now is AI, without a shadow of a doubt, is the biggest threat. Artificial intelligence. And I think I think like anything, I think it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing, but it will be the downfall of mankind. And I've joked as soon as they, I don't know what you call them, droids, robots, whatever. As soon as they make a girl that's self-lubricating, the human race will cease to exist right then. I'm serious. You know, if you're not married, sorry, ladies, I'm getting ready to make all of you mad. The one thing that guys cannot stand, I don't care what nation you live in, there's one thing that women do that drive us insane. They like to bitch. It's just in your genes. Artificial intelligence won't do that, I'm sure. And as soon as, like I say, as soon as they make one that she's pretty and self-lubricating, we're done. We're out. They'll make it to where we can afford it. There'll be no more babies being born.
Talking about like the mobile network and the telephone network, people don't realize that from the ground up and from the very beginning of the first telephone system, it wasn't so that you could call grandma from across the country.
Yeah.
It was so that they can monitor you
Yeah.
and listen to you.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same with the current smartphone and mobile network.
Yeah.
It's not there for your convenience. It's there for the people who own it to use it for their needs,
Yep.
but also to use it against you. And people don't realize that.
Well,
they just think it's a nice device that's there for them. But yeah.
When Bill Clinton turned GPS over to the general public, President Clinton, everybody said that's the best thing. So, like, people go buy cars. Oh, my car's got GPS. You're an idiot. If it can tell you where you're going, they know where you are. If you want to defeat the cellular device, you need a 18-inch piece of aluminum foil and wrap that device up, and it'll kill the signal. Everybody talks about Faraday cages. It's a Faraday cage. You don't want him. And this works. So if you'll wrap it up twice and fold the things over and have your wife, your best friend, your girlfriend dial your number, it will not ring. It won't get a signal. The problem is nobody can go without their cell phone. Nobody. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it.
Well, they can't go without them nowadays.
Well,
but me and you, we're from the generation that lived without them.
Oh,
so
I know what a rotary dial
if they were to just suddenly disappear,
it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
If mobile phones suddenly disappeared, I mean, we'd be okay.
Yeah, because and I'm sure even in your country, you know what a rotary dial phone is. Everybody's phone was in their kitchen, and you had a 30-foot cord, usually, if you were lucky, so you could walk around the house and talk on the phone. I can remember that. You'd have to duck as you're walking through the dining room or something, so you wouldn't get clotheslined. There was no such thing as a private call. There's no, you couldn't make a date without somebody hearing you, or you'd be on the phone in your room, and your mom or your dad would say, "It's 2 minutes till 10. Hang up." Okay, no, hang up, and then wait for you to go. Okay, I got to go. Bye, and you'd hang up and then hang up. And then kids today don't know what AOL is or dial-up. Oh dear God, dial-up sucked. But that's all we had. We thought it was the bomb. We came up where technology was coming up slow, and I remember when I was married, I lived about 2 or 3 miles from my mom and dad. God, and uh, you do know what a VCR is, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, my mom and dad would hit the channel, the blue channel, and would lock the VCR up, and I'd get a phone call. Come up here. We hit a button. The channel's blue, and I'd get in my car, drive up to the top of the hill, hit the button, turn around, and literally this happened one day. I said, "Okay, fix it." Handed it back to him. Drove home. Got out of the car. My rotary dial phone was ringing. Hello, can you come back? I said, "Are you out of your damn minds?" And my mom said, I'm sorry. I said, no, I'm not mad. I just can't believe it. So I walked, my wife's a school teacher. I said, give me a bottle of whiteout, please. She handed it to me, and I walked out the door, drove back up to my mom's, which it took me longer to get there than it was to fix the problem. I walked in, I said, hand me the remote. And I took the whiteout and kept putting it on her till there was a bump. I said, see that? They said, yeah. I said, don't touch that. That's what's turning the channel blue. And if you do, hit it again and it will go away. And they're like, you're so smart. And I felt smart. But it's like I told you, I can't download like this we're doing. I won't be able to download it because I can't use technology. I am now my parents. And so there'd be times, yeah, I'd have to, go find a kid to say, fix this for me because technology has passed me by. Like a smart TV and all. I can't. I don't own one. Don't know how to use it. The only I'm kind of joking, but I'm not. Uh, there's only so many things I know how to do on a smart telephone. I know how to use GPS, kind of. I know how to look up what I want to look up. I can find porn if I want it. I don't. I know how to use a text message, the bare minimum. So AI, I think, will absolutely destroy us in the end. They will. They'll invent, the AI people, or whatever the hell you call them, and then they'll do away with us because they won't need us. And everybody says, "Well, won't it be neat when you can transfer like your thoughts into your replica and you can live forever?" And I'm like, "No, you won't live forever because it thinks it's you. It doesn't have your soul. And if you don't think you have a soul, well, you're an idiot. They'll just do away with us." And that's really, truthfully, I believe it's the real biggest problem. I mean, short of them trying to starve us to death or bomb us or whatever, but I think that will be the downfall of the human race. There just can't be two daddy rabbits. I'm it.
That's very true. Like one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. If there's any young, hot, rich women out there that want a good man, I'm available. There you go. You can edit that out.
I might keep that in.
Oh shit.
Someone might be listening that fits the bill.
Well, she's got to be hot. She's got to be. You got to have a ponytail for sure. You got to have long hair, and I want to be kept. I don't want to work anymore. I want to be kept.
I'm not sure how many females actually listen to my channels, but I'll leave it in there because you never know.
At one time, my channel was about 70% female, and now it's all guys. And I honestly, I miss the women because the women, I hate to say this, fellas, but women are more interesting. They got a lot of questions. There's things they want to know. And
yeah, that. I think the most I've had on my channel was like about 10%. But now that you've mentioned it, the some of the best questions and some of the best and more, like you get people who engage with what you're talking about. Well, some of the best questions and some of the best things that come out of it is from the female audience.
Well, at one time, all my moderators, except for two, were female. And if you said something halfway ignorant, that'd be the last time you said it because you'd be gone. And I always said, we were talking about our dream team and all that back then. And I always said, if I had to have bodyguards, if it wasn't for the fact that most women do not have the killer instinct, if I had to have bodyguards, it'd be all women. But they just don't have the same killer instinct that men do. That was the only thing that I said, the downfall of. But yeah, I it made my life so much easier.
I mean, it's good when you've got like backing, on what you do. I mean, it doesn't matter where it comes from,
Yeah.
but if you've got like a good, solid crew who like what you do, enough to volunteer their time,
Oh yeah.
then that's good. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're men or women. It's good to have that
But
backup.
but women are so they pay attention to detail. So as soon, I mean, they'd pick up on something, you'd just be gone. Tell you what, I truly hope that everybody in the UK survives what's coming up. I hope your subscribers get something out of this. That you have more content coming out, even if I stop. But I mean, I'm not going to voluntarily stop. They're either going to kick me off or turn it off. But more videos coming soon, God willing, and the creek don't rise. That's my 2 cents.
Well, thanks a lot, Daddy Rabbit. I mean, yeah, I'm doing a video every now and then, but I'm just so busy with working. But I mean, that's a good thing because
Yeah,
for quite a long time, I just haven't been able to get anything to beef up my prepping.
yeah,
So my prepping, which I consider a hobby, but it's an expensive
yeah.
hobby.
It is.
I mean, it's not a cheap hobby prepping,
No,
and for being unemployed, you just can't prep, or it's very hard.
well,
But now that I'm working and I can put the fund in behind it now, especially like next year, I'm going to be able to show things that I'm getting. And I'm not going to be talking about massive expensive things because
yeah.
once you start talking about expensive things that the majority of your audience can't afford, that just cuts out too many of your subscribers.
The guy I was talking to you about earlier, blocking, asked me, why don't you do firearm videos? Show your firearms. And I thought, you're an idiot. Them days are long gone. There's no way
Oh, yeah, they're long gone.
yeah, I'm not pulling that out. Have you lost your mind? Nobody needs to. Listen, I tell all my viewers this, and I'll tell your viewers this: never stop networking. If you don't talk to people, start talking to them. Find out where they stand politically, and can you count on them? You need to always be networking. Never stop. And not to be paranoid, but by the same token, when you got a government wanting to know what's in your house, you don't show that. You don't. I was at a prepper convention, and even then, I was doing YouTube. And this guy, and we're all introducing ourselves. So, I stand up and I'm Prepper Rabbit. I do YouTube videos, da 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 da. This old man stood up and he said, I'm retired, former EBI. I'll say it that way. And at the end of this convention, there was, I say convention, it was more of a gathering. There's a couple hundred people. Everybody was shaking hands and swapping numbers, and everybody left him standing right there because of who he worked for. And the old man turned around and looked at me and he said, why won't anybody talk to me? I said, are you kidding me? I said, you'd have been better off standing up telling everybody you're a mortician than working for that agency. He said, but I'm retired. I said, dude, you're a Fed. That's like going to a marijuana convention and saying, hey, I'm a former Fed.
Yeah.
I mean, like, dude, really? You're never former. You'll be a BI the rest of your life. And you just told everybody. I said, you know, and I said, even though you got nothing to hide, it's just like you told him you work for the IRS. And I had a subscriber retired from the IRS. I mean, he wasn't nothing special, according to him. IRS? Are you kidding me? That's like saying you've got the Black Plague, like nobody going to talk to you. Nobody.
Yeah.
And he didn't
You don't
understand
want
that.
one of them in your prepping
I
group.
was like, dude, you just signed. Nobody's going to speak to you. But you have to network. You cannot stop. It's like being a politician. You got to kiss babies and shake hands. If I had to bug out of here today, and no matter in which direction I went, I guarantee you within a few minutes to an hour, I'd be somewhere else. I would be. I never stop networking. I don't. I've got subscribers that live up here and that I didn't know, and I'll see them. There's a young man and woman. They're married in my town, and actually, I went and met the guy. He probably lives less than 15 minutes from me. And I was in Walmart. The girl said, "Hey, Daddy Rabbit," and I turned around and said, "Hello, little girl." Yeah, and and then her husband turned the corner. And he said, "Hey," I said, "Hey." I shouldn't have called her little girl, but it's the Daddy Rabbit thing. He's like, "We watched you for a long time." I'm like, "Cool, man," you know. And I've always tell people, if you see me in public, speak, because you know I don't know who you are, and I'll stop and speak to whoever. And I never stop networking. Never, never, never. I talk to anybody I can about it. And once I realize you're on the other team, I change the subject or I walk away. I've made a lot of good friends networking. So never stop. And as soon as the government can divide you and keep you quiet, they've won. And I don't want them to win ever. Just my thought.
I mean, I agree totally with you. And I think that's a really good point to end this little
Yeah.
interview. And I just want to thank you very much for your time. Again, you know, your Prepper's Perspective episodes are the most watched, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who
I'm still waiting on my
have
royalty
enjoyed
checks.
what you've said. Yeah, royalty checks.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, when I start getting them, you start getting them.
Well, you know, I tell you, out of all the YouTubers and stuff, doing these, I've always enjoyed doing them. That's why I don't care to do them. I want everybody to know we don't rehearse. There's no rehearse in me. I'm glad. I mean, it makes me feel good that I do know you've told me before that I'm the highest watched or listened to, but I'm glad that you get something from it. Makes me feel good. I'm glad that we got to do it
Yeah.
again one last time because I don't think we'll be around this time next year.
Well, I really hope we do another one, but I think also, you know, there's that, you know, because like I said earlier, you know, these people who are in charge, they don't care about us. So even if it doesn't happen soon, like with the current events,
Yeah.
at some point in the future, there's going to be a mass depopulation.
Yeah.
And it's going to be because these insane clowns have decided that it's going to happen. So, like I said, you know, I hope it isn't the last one we ever do. But I mean, for now,
We're going to lose about 80%
I
of the
think it might
population.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's entirely feasible.
Oh,
And
yeah,
if people don't think that they'll do it, then,
yeah.
you know, they need to take their head out the sand and
Yeah.
learn a bit of history.
We'll lose 80% worldwide.
I mean, it's entirely possible. And when you look at the history of these people, you know, they've already been doing it.
Yeah, but if you're poor enough, you won't feel it. The U.S. will feel it. But they're saying running out of diesel. Let's see, it's October, November, December, January, February, March. Yeah, we'll when it's the coldest. They won't be generating electricity. There won't be any heating oil, so on. So people will freeze to death. You know,
Guys, you need to prepare for the winter and you need to make sure that your family is ready for this winter because, you know, it is going to be a really harsh one. I think it's going to be a harsh one weather-wise.
Yep.
I think there's also going to be things happening which like test us all. So, you know, like I always say, be safe and be prepared. And there'll be links to Daddy Rabbit's channel below. So check him out, give him some love. And this has been Geordie Prepper. And I'll see you in the next video.